of it once
Right.
it's installed.
Right.
That's something that usually gets left off of aspirational installations around the city. Is once you put it up, you better be able to maintain it.
Yep, it's not going to be.
Oh yeah, and when it falls to parks, then it really is their budget that it's going to come out of, all that maintenance, and so it's really important for them to be. And the plaza is a park, so that I think that that is really the place for that project to lie. But anyway, so let's move on. I think the master plan is the next thing. So Dan is new, so we're going to catch up a little bit on the last several meetings. We've been working on policies, the documents that aid the commission with its duties and responsibilities. And it's near the beginning of the commission, one of the first few meetings, we started the Sandy Public Art Inventory process. And that's when we discovered that 3 out of the 5 big murals needed to have something done right away. But Lou has gone out to take the photos for the inventory, and Gail Lawrence, who's a volunteer, is doing a spreadsheet that we can add information to. And Commissioner Bosserman, who has written books on both boring and sandy, is already at work researching and writing for the inventory. And Dan, if there's anything that we can do to help your research, please let us know. For instance, I have a paper from the Historical Society here that talks a little bit about Mary Ely Wallace, and I think brings up the funding of some of the murals. And so if you can think of anything at all that we can do to help, please let us know.
Well, it was reported in the Sandy Post that the Sandy Arts Society, headed by Mary Ely, had commissioned the mural on the community center, and that it was funded by the Metropolitan Arts Commission. The Art Society also commissioned the Roger Cooke mural on Ace Hardware, but we haven't located documentation yet on the Thomas mural on City Hall. Commissioner Malone, you were the mayor around that time. I'd be interested in any information you might be able to steer me to in that regard, and I'd like to contact you.
That would be fine.
Thank you. Wonderful. That'll be great, because I know you'll be a valuable resource.
Well, we'll see.
Well, I know you know where all the bodies are buried because you buried some of them yourself.
I do know that, yes.
And I have this paper here for you too. So
Good.
I can give you some of that information just by phone if you give me a call.
Will do.
I don't have a fax machine, or I'd fax it.
Well, that would be useful.
Okay. Yeah.
But we do have these computers, you know, with their little internets and things. Or if all else fails, you could mail it.
Yeah, snail mail. I can do that.
We've got a couple of pigeons that live in one of our trees. I could lend you one of those.
Yeah.
Not be denigrating snail mail.
So let's see. The master plan, moving on. At the last master plan meeting, Marcia, Linda, and I were working on a list of items to be included in the plan, sort of a plan outline we're starting with. And the documents are fairly comprehensive that we need. We have a pretty good comprehensive list started to give you an idea of some of the things that would have to go into the master plan. A map of, just a minute, let me check my list here. A map of potential sites for art. So parks, right-of-ways, Pleasant Street, Sandy Campus, city-owned buildings, gateways to the city, city entrances, opportunities like new developments and businesses and so on, those would all be put into a map form so that we would have a more informed idea about where those opportunities might lie. And then some of the documents that are typically found in a master plan, RFQ, RFP, selection of new art process and criteria, a mural policy. Pam and I are working on that now. The art inventory, that's being worked on, and an art maintenance plan. That's really important because we need to be putting money, we need to be setting aside money or raising money for the city's maintenance of the art.
Mm-hmm.
Or just having some idea of what the costs are annually.
Right.
Yes.
They'll
Yeah.
tell council for budgeting purposes.
Yeah.
Carl?
For the benefit of the two new commissioners, Dan and Linda, and Linda's kind of maybe already be aware of some of this, but just so people know, the council has said repeatedly, and I'm my memory says at least twice, that they are in favor of an art master plan, putting it all together, but they have yet to approve even a dime for the job of it. So just so you know, a lot of this preparation is great to do.
The phrase "put your money where your mouth is" comes to mind.
But, and budget time comes up in the first of next year, so for the next biennium.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I'm hoping that there might be some allocated for that, but at this point, you cannot expect any kind of compensation, any kind of
Right.
help. You do have a budget of your own that you might be able to use as commission votes, but from the city council, we're not there yet. So that's just for folks to know.
Right. It's a lot of work to put it together. Pam?
You're muted, Pam.
Pam, unmute.
I feel like this work, this master plan, is one of the best legacies that we as the First Art Commission can leave to the people that follow us. Even if it can't be officially funded now, at least we've got an outline and we've got a foundation. And I think that's absolutely critical. You know, a lot of things have come up for us already just with a few art projects that we have done, and we have no foundation to refer to. So, you know, this is not the most exciting work. It's not something that I enjoy, but I think it's absolutely critical, and I'm glad we're at least getting it going.
And in that regard, putting some of these things out on the table, seeing where the gaps are, seeing what the needs are, knowing what kinds of things that you're going to need, maybe even having a cost on some of these things
Right.
will go a long ways when it does come to budget time. And if we're all part of that discussion about comparative things that are drawing the council's direction for funding, we can certainly put those on the table better than if we just say, well, we'd like to do a master plan and we don't know how much it costs, what it entails, what it would be, how long, all those sorts of things.
Right.
You might be doing at this point.
Yeah, I would add to that. Oh,
Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
I would just add briefly, you know, the $8,000 budget that the commission was awarded for the current biennium was really a shot in the dark, right? We had no idea what,
Sure.
you know, robust projects
Sure.
you would find or areas that would be identified for future spending. And so I think that Councilor Extra makes a very good point, having an idea of, you know, what future projects the commission wants to see and what events or restorations you want to undertake, and having an outline for that going into the next budget cycle is going to be helpful to either allocating, you know, additional funds for those projects or just creating that dialogue with council so that we know there's more coming. It's always a work in progress, but we really didn't have any idea where to start, you know,
Sure.
a year and a half ago.
Well, if we continue on our exploration of what other cities are doing, we have a pretty good handful of city master plans that we're looking at, and we've made some observations. Some of them are very simply written and folksy, and others are so lawyerly that they just
Yeah.
really are hard to swallow because you read them and it's like overwhelming. So I feel like we need to come up with a writing style that we feel as a group that we want to portray and to represent Sandy with that. So the writing style is important. And some of the other choices that we'll come to are important. But for me, knowing what documents and what direction you're going to go with it is important, because then you know, as Linda said before at the last meeting, she said that we don't have the expertise to put together the master plan. Well, I will agree for sure, we cannot write code. I don't think any of us know how to do that. So we will need some funding for personnel, someone who can do that. But how can you estimate what that dollar amount is until you know what policies you want to put in place, and then you research what codes need to be written for that, so you have some indication of how much staff time you're going to need. So I was thinking that if we could go down the road of continuing our research and digging out those portions that we'd like to see there, then as that process goes along, we'll have so much better idea of what sort of funding we would need. I just don't, hiring a consultant from the get-go would cost a lot of money. And so it seems to me if we take this process down the road, we may find we don't need a consultant for the whole project. We need somebody to put together the package at the end to make it professional, but we don't necessarily need somebody who's going to go out and put the whole thing together and it comes out of the city money. I don't spend my own money that way, so I have a hard time thinking about spending someone else's that way.
Right.
Carl?
We've done a number of these from in the past, and one of the best ways that I've seen that these things get off to a pretty good start is to go to other cities that have done something similar and look at what it costs to them, especially if it's been done relatively since you ask. So anytime you see a city that's of our typical size that produces a product that's pretty close to what we're looking for, asking them what it costs, what they put together, how they got it together is really a good idea. And I would suggest research.
Right.
Try that.
I agree with that very much, Carl. But what I also said, if we weren't in COVID crisis right now, I would use the resources of the League of Oregon Cities, ask them to recommend cities who have recently adopted arts master plans. Go to those cities, talk to the people who are in that. There's things we could do that we can't do now, including all of us getting together in the same room. I mean, there are certain limitations to what we're going through right now in moving forward with any kind of certainty. And I find that frustrating.
Well, we do have Happy Valley's plan, is one of the plans we've been looking at, and it actually has a lot of duplication with another plan that we were looking at. I wondered if the same company put it together or if there was some kind of pool of common information that they're drawing from. But
local governments have a habit of trying to avoid recreating the wheel. So we oftentimes pull information from other places.
Right. And I was thinking we would go down that same road. If we can pull information in that looks like it fits for our needs, then we wouldn't be paying a consultant from the beginning. It's like this whole big process that we could kind of skip to the middle part where, here are some of the things that we like about this plan, and we want these kinds of documents for Sandy. And then it's a master plan is something that can be altered when you're going along and you find things that are missing or things that aren't right. But there are certain documents that are just really important that we have up front. I know that when the mural in Centennial Plaza was done, that the city planner at the time contacted Cheryl Snow at the Clackamas County Arts Alliance to get information on how they do the RFQs and RFPs, and was given some guidance by her. So those documents are still in the archives. So we don't really need to recreate the wheel on every single thing. We can pull pieces that we can come across together and have a really good start on what we want. And then we know how much money to ask for, because there's certain things we can't do.
Right.
I think the one other item to note, and it's not a huge deal, but a master plan, and I think Commissioner Malone and Councilor Exner can speak to this as well. The real need for the master plan in a water master plan, sewer master plan, parks master plan, is because there's SDCs, system development charges, that have pretty strict parameters around how those can be spent. And so we need a list of projects to spend those funds. Whereas the Arts Commission is a little less strict or put in a box in this regard, because you're not paying for these projects with SDCs.
No, we don't have money.
We don't have FCCs attached to us.
Exactly. So it can be a looser
for the arts. So.
Yep. So it can be a looser document. It doesn't have to be, in the short term, it doesn't need to be this lofty master plan. It can just be an arts guideline, for lack of a better title, to help facilitate how we identify those projects.
An assemblage of documents, so that as the commission goes along, they're not trying to start from ground zero all the time. They'll have a pool of documents and information that they can draw from, which obviously we didn't have to start with. So I would like to see us continue to work on finding copies of documents. Like Pam and I have come up with documents from various municipalities, and I think Pam's done a really good job of getting it put together. So, we aren't Palo Alto, California, so it's not quite as lawyery as Palo Alto's, and we're not quite as maybe informal as some little burgs might be. We need to be about where our city is itself. So we'll be bringing that up another day.
It'd be great if Silverton had an art master plan, because we're of similar size and similar, configuration in the state of Oregon. But I don't think they have an arts master plan in Silverton. Probably the examples here would be a loftier one from like Lake Oswego, or a less formal one like the one they have in Joseph. There are different arts master plans around the state. It'd be nice if we could find one that correlated to our aspirations and our size.
Right.
We can keep looking. It looks like we're about ready to start the regular meeting, and I want to just give one input from when I couldn't hear you. I mean, you couldn't hear me, but I could hear you. And that's in regards to the Roger Cooke mural dedication. And I didn't exactly hear the gist of it, but what I got from it was that we would take it off the city's scheduled things and have it be just a free form. We'd all get together and dedicate it, but not promote it as a city event. And that way we could circumvent the governor's rule for 25 people in a gathering. And I want to just make it clear that I am not for being the rebel without a cause of gathering more than 25 people while we're still in COVID. That'll fall 7 days after my husband's had surgery, probably 2 days after he's been out of the hospital. And if we decide to do it with more than 25 people, I won't be going.
Okay. So the point
for others.
Right. One of the points I made is that unless it's a birthday party at your house, you'd really, and even then, you don't know how many people are going to show up. There is not a single thing that you can do and know exactly how many people are going to show up. And like I said, you might be thinking you're going to have a ceremony dedicating the plaque to Roger Cooke, and then people show up protesting something that the pioneers did. So if we, when it comes close to the time, as a city entity, do not want to sponsor a gathering, we can certainly cancel it on our website and say we're not sponsoring this gathering. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go there and pull the thing off of the thing, and anybody who wants to join me can do that. Or not.
Or not.
I'm in place.
Because I am a rebel without a cause, but this is my cause, I guess. I'm just tired of any group who wants to go out and say, I'm protesting something. They can all get together and be as many of them as they want and get a police escort. But if you want to do something with even fewer people than that, you have to be protesting in order to have it happen. Well, I protest the whole, you can't do anything. I'm going to protest that.
Okay, Becky.
No, those
Carl?
protests were not sponsored by or permitted by
Correct.
the city.
Absolutely.
It's not something that the city authorized. Certainly didn't.
Even the one with the blue march with all the police officers from the city in it, that was not sponsored or gave the appearance of being sponsored by the city.
It was not sponsored by the city, as I understand it.
Even though our officers were in uniform in the parade.
Our officers were in all of those protests, doing the job.
In one as their capacity as officers, in the other one in their capacity as police officers being supported. So both, I think, have similar flaws.
So my point is, you don't know how many people are coming. So how do you know how many people are coming?
Well, from what Dan said, there'd be easily over 25 if people from his church came and the members of the commission came and any staff came. You'd be over 25 pretty quick.
Okay, so
the best place to do this, though, Becky. But I think you can manage the meetings that happen there, and we've talked about on one side of the street and others. There could be ways to manage it. But again, if it gets out of hand, you may just have to walk away.
Right. So we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll make an announcement that it's not a city gathering. So
not yet, but.
So are we to the part of, because I'm not seeing the agenda and
that was the last item of the workshop.
Okay, and that is.
So now you're to roll call.
Okay, so we're starting our meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So at this point, I'm going to cede the chair to Marcia Morrow. Commissioner Morrow is the vice chair, and she'll be leading the meeting.
Okay, first up.
I will be the artist. I'll still be here, but I am not a commissioner at this point.
Okay, so we need to do roll call. Do you need everybody to say anything, Tyler, or you've got all the names?
I can do a quick roll call if we want to just be as professional as possible about it.
Yes.
All right. I just have to remember how you all sit when you're actually in.
Yeah.
Commissioner Senek.
Here.
Commissioner Jordan.
Here.
Commissioner Morrow.
Here.
I think that is going to be Commissioner Smithstead.
Here.
Commissioner Bosserman.
Here I am.
Commissioner Malone.
Here.
And Commissioner Holly.
Here.
Perfect.
Right. Okay, any changes that anybody wants to make to the agenda? Any additions or deletions or whatever? No?
No.
Okay. So we're all the way down to old business.
Marcia, if I can interrupt you briefly.
Sure.
I did make a change to the layout of the agenda last night and
Okay.
moved the consent agenda and the prior month's meeting minutes up to this point in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, so I think you're just looking for a motion for those minutes at this point.
Yeah,
I'd move we accept the meetings the Art Commission minutes from June 17th.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, what else? What's next, Tyler? Did you do anything else?
Nope, the next thing would be old business, the Growing Together Silhouette Mural update.
Okay. And then do we need to acknowledge anybody that's on public?
So we have public comment slated for closer to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
We do have still that one member of the public on the line that has their hand raised, but we can wait until the public comments section for that.
Okay. So we're down to the Growing Together Silhouette Mural update. And we would, I was wondering if, Carl, can you, since there's a growing interest in the silhouette mural publicly, could you explain what urban renewal funding would provide?
Sure. I think there's a spot in there for me when it comes to the LIAISON report, but I was going to do that at that time, but I'll do that here. So I'm going to shorten my LIAISON report to lengthen this.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good. The City Council did vote to commit $11,000 to the Growing Together mural to be able to be used out of the Urban Renewal Fund. There is a desire to be able to use as much of the donated money as possible. And so there was some conversations about how it might be less than, or it might be spent, but up to $11,000 was committed from the urban renewal dollars to be able to make sure that this one is going forward. It's a project that the council continues to support. There were a number of comments made at the council, and I know I'm aware of several comments that were made since then about the propriety of the mural, using the urban renewal dollars for this. There was some comments about it being more expensive than folks figured, but it really is the cheapest mural that I think we'll ever have put on the table.
Probably,
the
yeah.
Contributions by both the artist and by the different corporations that are putting money on the table. So it's some of those kinds of comments, and there were some others too, about need to go out for a bid, which is not required in this point. There was some other things about whether it was a sandy style or not, and there was some of those kind of comments that came up during the council meeting and afterwards, like I said. This was looked at as a unanimous decision by council. So there's really been no backing away from that. Council and Urban Renewal Board supports this unanimously. It's a good project. It's going to go forward. There always is the opportunity to have something come down the road. And I've kind of placed this on the equivalency, or maybe call it the precedent of the sandy style that happened when I was on Planning Commission. It was presented a number of different times, much like this one was. And people were not really communicating the concerns or the difficulties that might be involved in that until it came down to the very last moment of saying it's going to be committed, it'll be codified, and we're going to be requiring it on all downtown properties. And it kind of like the old hell broke loose at that point. And to some degree, I don't see it as much as this particular one is, but certainly to some degree it has some similarities where people are concerned. And so on the sandy style process, we put a hold on it, said we will continue to do some more input from people around and kind of get an idea of how that might look the best way, and then it was moved forward. And that may happen here. I don't know that we're at that point yet, but certainly City Council, like I said, is unanimous in its support of this one. And so it really is up to the council to go from here on where, how quick, how large, within the parameters that the council gave to the commission last Monday. So $11,000 is yours.
Great.
Tyler can write the checks anytime he can feel like he can get hold of him, break his arm to
Yeah.
make those checks happen.
Yeah.
there was a desire by council, I know, to continue doing the request for grants and that kind of thing too. So, but your
Sure.
$11,000 is set aside.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that update. And then some of the people that are here with us this afternoon, Pam, do you have something? You need to be unmuted.
Yeah, I wanted to just take a minute and go back a little bit before City Council actually approving this and say that we tried really hard. We all really brainstormed how to get this information about the mural out to the public. And I'm happy to see that there are people visiting. I hope some people have some ideas for us on how we can do a better job with that, because we had 9 public meetings to present this mural, and it was also put out on Facebook and some Sandy community information. But I know a lot of people feel like their opinions were not heard, and that there wasn't a forum to do that. And so I would very much hope that some of those people would have some useful ideas for us on in the future how we can get this kind of information out and get more input.
Good point. I like that. Okay, moving forward, some of the people this afternoon, that would be Dan and anyone else that's available that's listening, haven't attended the public meetings. And so Becky, can you describe the artwork and field any questions from anybody, public and commission? And can you share your vision for this artwork since you're the artist?
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't know how many non-commissioners besides the Lawrence's are out there. Tyler, do you have an idea of?
So besides the Lawrence's, we have Rod.
Uh-huh.
And then we also have Jeff Aprati, who's just listening in for his own enjoyment.
Oh, okay.
So,
do you want me to share my screen, Becky, so we can see the picture of the mural?
Well, what I'm getting to is this. Dan has already said that he saw it in the Sandy Post. Didn't you see it in the Sandy Post, Dan? Or did you just?
You sent me some material on it.
Yeah, an email a long time ago.
Yeah,
So the only uninitiated people who perhaps have not seen the actual project or heard anything about it would be the Lawrence's. And so perhaps rather than me giving the artist's vision for this, since there's really not too many people who haven't heard it already, maybe it would be a better thing to spend our time talking to the Lawrence's to find out what their interest is, and then maybe we can speak to that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
It'd be good, Tyler, if you could share your screen and show the mural, though.
Okay. So are you requesting that we let the Lawrence's speak now and not wait until public comment?
Because they're the public people, so
Yeah,
if
no, we can do that.
Yeah, then we would have more to comment on, and I wouldn't bore everyone with a recapitulation of what they already know.
All right, so I'm going to allow the Lawrence's to speak, and then let me share my screen so we can get the mural up here. Hold on just a moment.
Well, I know that's not Craig.
Help me, Rhonda.
All right, can you see that mural now?
Yes.
Just for advice, we do need to get a name and an address for any public comment. There is a precedent that if a person doesn't want to give their address out on the open world, that they submit it to the recorder of the meeting so that we do have record of it. Because as a public meeting, we do need to track the comments, where they came from, part of the law. So just so that we follow directions there in law.
Yep, thank you, Carl.
Are we also following that you should only have 3 minutes to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
What? Linda?
I don't think we need to get that, cut him off at 3 minutes. Let's not pull a stand. If he has something to say, if he's starting to ramble, but.
Okay.
Our meeting goes for another hour and 5 minutes. I doubt it's going to go that long.
Okay.
I'd be happy to be overruled if you guys want to cut them off at 3 minutes.
I think the original concern was not knowing how many people would be calling into this meeting, and we didn't want,
Now we
you
know.
10, 20
Oh,
minute.
what a midnight meeting.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure with the one attendee we have, it would be fine to allow them a more interactive process, but
And
that's
that's the
totally the
Lurie's.
commission's.
Okay, so can you call on them, Tyler? I can't see them. I don't know. Are they on the phone or?
Don't know if they're on the phone or not. Looks like they just unmuted them.
Zoom.
All right, we can hear you.
Great. And how are you guys wanting to see me too? Because I don't see where it allows me to share my video.
We
We
don't
don't.
see you.
You just want to hear me, not see me?
Yes.
Sure. That's okay.
Okay. Great. Well, hey, thanks everybody for allowing me to speak in this meeting, and I appreciate being here. And thank you, Becky, for sending the information for this meeting. I've kind of been out of touch with you guys for a while, and I saw this mural, the news about this mural, and I really got drawn into being recommitted to being involved in the city council or the Arts Commission and what you guys are up to. And I'm really quick to Linda too. Becky and Linda are the few people I know in here. I want to say hi to them real quick. So I have a few questions. I don't know if it's open forum for all my questions or if we're just talking about this mural right now.
We're just talking about the mural right now.
Okay. And then is the open forum for my other questions, is that at the end of the meeting? So I would
Yeah.
have to wait around till the meeting gets to the end before I would be able to ask those questions?
Tyler, does it matter?
As soon
I
as
don't
this
think it
goes,
matters.
we'll get to the meeting, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because of the small, attendee list and the
Yeah.
casual demeanor of the commission, I think it would be
Great.
fine to probably take care of it all at once, if
Okay.
the commission's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Great. Thanks, everybody. I'll address the mural to begin with. Becky, I love your vision here and what you're doing with this, and I commend you on this mural. And of course, I'm super supportive for any murals that we get to put up in our fine town of Sandy. I think it's really cool. I would like some better understanding, if I could, and forgive me for being new to all this, everybody, because I'm really trying to learn and understand this as I participate. And that is, how do you guys go about not only coming up with the idea of the mural, but the decision on if there's a bid for it or if there's not a bid for it, or who does it? It seems like it's something that, my dad did the mural next to this one, and it was something I know from experience that he put a bid on it and actually had a big presentation on to the city of Sandy for that mural. And I was really curious, was that the process with this one, or is there a different process for each one depending on the individual or the circumstance?
Commissioner Howley, do you want to speak to that?
Okay, Craig. So I think it was around 2011 when the previous mural was done. I could be off by a year.
Yeah.
And this particular building owner came to me last summer and wanted to put a mural on the back of the building. At the time your dad did the other mural, in preparation for that, the city was very interested in getting rid of these electrical boxes. And the electrical boxes, it's a massive project to get rid of those. So
Right.
he wanted to do something with those. And then if you look on the mural, I don't know, Craig, if you can see the mural picture, but there's a section where there's a tree, and that's the only flat section that if we had contemplated doing a mural, that it would be kind of bumped over to where the children are and the hikers. In looking at the project with the building owner, and I'm speaking from myself personally, he didn't come to me as an arts commissioner, just as a personal friend. I didn't want to do something that competed with your father's mural. Having a different artist or different colors or different subject matter, when you hang things together, you need to make sure that they are compatible and not competing with each other, so that they enhance each other, not make each other look bad. So we put together, the building owner and I put together this project, and I brought it to the city and said, here's a project if you choose to take it up. And the Sandy Arts Commission looked at it. They liked it. We went out and we had, in February, we had a public art forum that we advertised in the newspaper. Sandy, I'm reading right now out of the Post. Sandy Arts Commission seeks community feedback on Sandy's art scene. We had 2 sessions for the public art forum, where we invited people in to give their opinions about different subjects. What themes would you like to see in Sandy? Do you prefer traditional or modern, or both? Name some art forms that you would like to see. For instance, there's murals, but sculptures and, you know, other types of art, even artistic benches or anything like that. So we had a pretty broad number of questions that we wanted answered. We had a very low attendance for those public art forums. We took it also to the Sandy Garden Club, we talked to them about it. We took it to the Wy'east Artisans Guild, to 2 different meetings. Like I said, there were, or Pam said earlier, in total, we took it to 9 different meetings. And we tried everything that we could to get input. The feedback on the plan was excellent and very supportive. So when we talked about it in the Arts Commission, I spoke from the artist's point of view and did not vote on it, by the way, Craig. They decided that it was a project worth promoting to the city council. Now, are you living in Gresham, Craig? Because you didn't give your address.
Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to give it to you. You guys want it right now?
Go ahead and give it for Tyler to record.
Sure, it's 38411 Miller Street, Sandy, Oregon.
And Sandy.
Yeah, I've been out here for almost 4 years now and just loving it.
Great.
And thanks, Becky, for that explanation. It makes a lot more sense to me now, and I understand how this all came about. I appreciate that. I want to come to the dedication. It looks awesome, and I can't wait to be a part of that. It looks really cool.
So Craig, I don't think that a lot of people realize that this is not a painted mural. This mural is larger than life, black steel silhouettes, and then the dark paint at the bottom is paint to create a ground level so that we can raise those figures up so they can be seen behind, you know, because cars park along there.
Right.
So there is going to be a number of painted items on here, but for the most part, everything you see that's black, that's going to be the steel silhouettes mounted to the block wall.
Wow, cool. Cool. That sounds really great.
And I do hope that it actually will look better than the Photoshop document that I did as a design concept.
Yeah. Oh, of course it will. It always looks better in person too than a picture. A picture doesn't do it justice. That's really neat, Becky.
Okay.
I love it. And thanks for explaining that to me. I appreciate that. My other question was really quick is the rededication of Roger Cooke's Pioneer Mural. Is that what brought that rededication about? Was it the refurbishing of it, or a certain number of years it's been there? Help me understand where this rededication is coming from.
Commissioner Howley, do you want to speak to that one?
Oh, I was going to give that off to Pam.
Or Pam could. Commissioner Smithstead.
Commissioner Smithstead. She's still here?
Yes, but she's muted again.
Yes, Craig, it was brought about by the restoration of the mural. And we have a plaque made that acknowledges the original artist and artists that helped restore it, and a little bit of a history about the mural. So the dedication is in part to present that plaque.
Yep. Great. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm still not clear on how it came about. Is this a certain amount of years, or is it, because of the restoration, it just drew the attention back to you guys, and you thought, well, we should really honor this artist some more and get a plaque made and have a rededication? Am I understanding that correctly?
Commissioner Howley?
I think so.
We were doing the art inventory and an assessment of all the murals in town, and the Roger Cooke mural was actually the one that had paint falling off and bare spots. And the previous city planner had put out an RFQ with a work description of restoring the mural back in 2012. And there was no funding for it because that particular mural is on private property and the city does not have ownership of it. It was funded originally by the Sandy, it was commissioned by the Sandy Arts Society. So we scrambled and got together, Pam and I as the lead artists, a number of city volunteers came by. Marcia did some painting as well, to restore the mural on a volunteer basis. And we had a sign put up. I
remember the sign.
I have a little picture of, I don't know if you can see this. This is Roger's mural, and down here is our banner sign.
Yep.
That banner sign says, "You can help." And it gives our phone number and our city email. And we had a couple of artists respond to that. Otherwise, a lot of the work was done by Pam and by me and LIAISON Artisans Guild members, including Commissioner Morrow, Vern Groff, Micaiah Meyer. There's a whole list of people who worked on it. And it was important that we save it before more paint was taken off of it, because that way we had a good foundation to build off of. It was like a paint by number in a sense, because we could still see the painting that Roger had created, and we did not paint over his signature. We painted around it and preserved it. Otherwise, the entire mural was repainted.
Wow. Well, I commend you all for volunteering your time and efforts into it. It looks great. You did a wonderful job. And it's nice to see it refurbished like that and know that, you know, our kids and our grandkids get to enjoy it in the future. And thanks everybody for allowing me to come in and ask these questions. It's really helped clarify things for me and help me understand how some of the process and procedures you guys go through to make this all happen for the city of Sandy.
We want to thank you for your interest because we haven't had a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. And you know, of course, in thought of my father and his mural is it wasn't as bad a shape as Roger's, of course, just after 10 years, and we got over there earlier this year or late last year and refurbished it, and it was nice to see. And I was just wondering if that's something that you guys were doing for all the murals or just that one. And it makes sense to me now why you're doing the rededication for it. So thanks for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Howley?
I will say too, Craig, if you're still listening, that when your mural there was done, it was dedicated to Mayor Malone, and there's a really nice little dedication plaque and some information about it. And none of that was done at the time that Roger's mural was done. There was no information for the community to come by and see that talks about the Barlow Trail and what the significance of the mural is really. And just so you know, because you're an artist and you're interested, the mural on the City Hall on the outside was refurbished over the winter, and that's done. And the community center has a mural on it that will have a preservation code on put on it this summer. So we're trying to preserve the art that we have.
That's so great to hear, because you know, obviously we know as artists that someone spent a lot of time and effort and passion into creating those murals, and people put money down, and the city sponsored it too. So it's great to see people, the city really taking care of their investment like that. It's really refreshing to know that you guys, the art committee now is stepping up and taking control of that and making that happen, because how sad would it be to have all that done and then just have it fade away?
Right.
So my one, and thanks again for clarifying all that. My final and last question is this newest mural that's going up, got the funding, and it was a private that came to you, Becky, and all that. What's the future look like with you guys as the art commission, as far as more art in the community? Because, you know, like you said, Becky, sculptures and some other different art forms that can be added to the community. Is that something you guys are always open to hear about, or looking into, or saving up for? What's the future look like?
Becky, you're addressed.
Okay, well, I think that largely the master plan is a way of being able to assemble a map of art opportunities. I don't know if anyone else on the commission has noticed this, but since the Dutch Brothers was built, the side of the mattress store is a wide open blue canvas now.
Yeah.
So there's an art opportunity that no one has really talked about or discovered or even seen before, because there was a big fence up there and you couldn't even see it. So once we go through town and we start locating areas, and working with the Parks Department, because they're putting together a Parks Master Plan, where can we insert art into the master plan? Where can we find art opportunities around Sandy? That's a part of the master plan. And how you fund it, how you solicit it, what if art is offered to you? Now, if you look at this project, the $11,000 that Urban Renewal is funding is almost exactly the amount that the steel silhouette murals or the components, the steel components, cost very nearly that when you add a little bit of paint in for the painting that's going to be done. There are other costs like the sign that says grow together, and not pictured here, but to the left of the painter will be a beautiful plaque acknowledging the people involved in the project and the donors. Just yesterday, the Y-East Artisan Guild donated $500, and they are sponsoring the painter. So thank you, Y-East Artisans Guild.
You're welcome.
And we have other people sponsoring the dogs and the cat and so on. So
Craig?
I think that if somebody comes to the city in the future with a proposition that the city finds advantageous, we need to have a procedure in place for following up on that.
There's also the Pleasantville.
Craig?
Sorry.
Linda.
This is Linda here. What I would say, when we're putting together the master plan, one of the things I want to be incorporated in there may be times where an artist comes forward and says, I have this and I'm willing to, I have the funding for it, or I am willing to help raise the funds for it. That's one thing. But as far as for most of our things, say a mural was proposed for the Blue Building or for anywhere else in town, I would like to go to the method that was used for your dad's mural and for the one on Roger Cooke, you know, that we solicit RFPs or RFQs, and we get various artist designs that then the public can have input on through either forums, if it could be well attended, or in solicitations in the paper, the different artists' ideas that are available, and have people weigh in on it so that there is somewhat of a public feeling of ownership of projects. And the master plan will designate all the spots in town that there are opportunities for putting art. But I would want it to be more of a transparent process for selecting future projects, more like what we did before.
Excellent to hear, especially as an artist wanting to be more involved in the community, such as myself, is looking around town and seeing how we can enhance our community with arts, and bringing that to you guys with some ideas and proposals and some just to be able to share some of the visions that as the public with you guys. I'm getting the feeling that you guys are really open to that, and you want to hear from us, the public, on what that looks like for us.
Yes.
Becky?
Well, I also think that what we do, we can, what our process is, maybe we can share that process with other departments in the city too. For instance, Linda, you mentioned the mural over here that Lauritson's did. As in all of the documentation that I've found, that's the only one that mentions any city involvement. The city actually did the RFQ and the funding out of urban renewal money. The president of Y-East Artisans Guild started the Sandy Arts Society, and the Sandy Arts Society got grants to do the murals, and it's possible that the city put some funds in it, but it doesn't really mention the city putting any money into it. All it says is the Metropolitan Arts Society.
Those who write history, I know that the two murals on City Hall, inside and outside, the city had some input and contribution to that. Whether it says so in the records or not, I know it had it. So
Well, I know that on the senior center also, since it's a city building, they had to have been involved. But the Sandy Post write-up says that the funding, the commissioning was done by someone else, and the funding was done by someone else. Obviously, the city had something to do with it. It was their building. But my point is that other than the Centennial mural, the city really hasn't had well, let's look too at in 2018 when the Parks Department did the Fantasy Forest mural. Okay.
Well, they did the mural, they recreated or repainted the mural then, but the mural was part of the original Fantasy Forest, which goes back a lot of years. It goes back to when we were a part of the American Cities competition back in Cleveland. That park was built at that same time over a 3-day period by the community.
The park was built, but the artist put her design up there. That wasn't an original design. The artist offered, and this is what I was told by someone who knows, I won't mention names, but she said that the artist came to them and volunteered her time to do that particular mural using a motif of the area, and the Parks Department liked it, and so they funded the supplies, the materials to do that. So that wasn't a process where it was opened up to the public. That was someone coming to them specifically. They liked it, and they had that artist do it. So I can see where it was very, and I agree with that. You have an artist who's willing to do something for free. How can you get a better price than that, really? In a competitive bid, are you really going to get a better price? Not really. I also want to address another point. As the artist on this project, this was put out to 3 different metal fab companies in our area, just so you all know. One here in town was 12,000 and something. Another one was 9,800, and another one out of town in Estacada was the lowest bid. But that particular bid, they want to bring the entire load on a semi-truck, and we'd have to rent a forklift to get it off, which negates the cost saving on the price of the silhouette, the metal.
Yeah.
And it creates a hazard because you're going to be doing that on the city streets, unloading that thing. And once you unload it, it can't be installed all in one day. So people are going to be stealing your metal right off of your work site. So the company who had the second, the middle size bid, is willing to work by bringing loads on a small flatbed trailer, making it very safe and convenient to work. And so I've asked that Tyler get us all organized so that company can do it. And it's all in place at this point. All we need to do is coordinate the time schedule with the building owner who's having the building painted, because the canvas has to be done prior to the installation of the pieces. So I think that as a artist, I would love to see what the Sandy Arts Commission is going to come up with for their protocols, because when artists know those things up front, they know how to instigate a project, for instance. Craig may go to the mattress company and go, I'm a local artist. I would love to do a mural on the side of your building. And if he can get funding, and he can get buy-in from the building owner and do all that legwork, I think that's a real win-win for the city. But then on the other hand,
We still need to approve the content and the
correct,
design.
Right.
which is
Right.
exactly what the mural policy is for. And that's one of the reasons that we have an urgency to get that in place, because if people start coming to us, we need that policy in place.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons we picked that little component out to work on intensively in the beginning. But from the artist's point of view, it would be good to know what the rules are so you can follow them and actually get something done and not spin your wheels.
Great.
Here, here.
Ended that, Becky. That's exactly kind of where I'm getting at with these questions is, you know, I'd love to play the game, but need to know the rules to be able to do that. And it sounds like you guys are on it. It sounds like that's what you guys are developing right now, and that's just great news to hear. And I feel like I want to be more involved in this too, because it sounds like a good time to come into this, because you guys are making those changes and figuring all this out. And I think that's going to allow a lot more artists to be able to come into our community and offer what they have, what they can give.
And now that I have your email, Craig, I have your email, so we'll be in touch with you more. And we're always looking for volunteers for various things, and we have volunteers working on things, so we'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One last thing. Are you guys open for suggestions on a little adding art to the community and a little fundraiser?
Sure.
So I probably mentioned this the one meeting I went to, but I think I'll go back to it so everybody can hear it again. Is I got a really good idea from the city, the coastal town of Bandon. I was over there last summer, and they kind of had their summer day things going on, their celebration, kind of like our mountain days. It's a to do, and what they did is they went ahead and promoted artists to come in and actually donate money to be able to put some of their art up in the town. And what that looked like was, it was like a piece of flat metal, like signage metal, like you would see a stop sign or whatever. And it was probably, I don't know, a 3x4 rectangular piece of metal with rounded off. And what they did is they had artists come in and pay for that to do their art on that piece of metal, and then they were hanging them on the light post and the street post around town. So as you walk through town, you got all different kinds of artists doing all different kinds of work, and obviously you have you limit to them to what they can paint. Obviously, it has to line up to the city standards. But I saw dozens of different artists doing these. I'm going to call them panels that were mounted on these street posts, and it earned the city's art commission, you know, some thousands of dollars to have people come in and express their art on those panels. I don't know about Mountain Days this year and COVID and all that, but it seems to me like we could get some ideas from other towns such as Bandon, where we can come in and bring local artists in and get them to participate in sharing their art and fund, you know, the next great art project in Sandy. So that's just the idea I wanted to throw out to you guys.
Craig, what town was that?
Bandon. That was Bandon.
Bandon. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. You know, as an artist, of course, I think we have a deeper appreciation for it. But you walk around town, it just made everything more colorful, more vibrant. And as we see in the city of Sandy, the more murals that go up, just more character and quality the town gains from it, I think. I look, as an artist, I look at a blank wall and say, what a shame. There's an empty canvas. And even some of the poorest quality murals look better than a blank wall in my eyes. So the more we can get artists to be interested in not just showing their work, but presenting it to the whole town for everybody to see. And I don't know for sure with Bandon, I didn't get the details, but I believe they had kind of a contest where, you know, they had a winner and a runner-up or whatever, and they got some sort of prize. But I think with an incentive like that, we might be surprised if we're able to advertise it well, how many artists would step up and want to be involved in that.
Great.
I think that's a really good idea. And also, just so you know, I don't know, one of the documents that we want to work on is called temperate policy, so that things like that can happen and be, if we have a policy in place, there could be something like that go on in Miami Park or along the streets of Sandy, or, you know, a lot of different places. So we'll be working on that. Thank you for the idea.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for letting me share, everybody. And actually, I have to go on to my next meeting. I appreciate you letting me speak in this one, and I'm looking forward to being involved in more in the future. So thanks everybody for letting me be here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to commissioner reports. Anybody have a commissioner report?
I've just
Are we
comment?
reported up? Yes, Linda.
Yeah, I just had one thing, and since Carl, are you still here?
Hmm.
You're muted, Carl.
Yes,
He's muted.
I'm still here. Yep.
Anyway, this is sort of for the commission and also for Carl. I have been observing, because I've been walking around town trying to, you know, do my 2 or 3 miles a day. And the last few times I've gone by City Hall, I don't know how permanent those 2 metal signs are above either door, but what's calling out for a really nicely carved wooden sign that just says, doesn't have to say Sandy City Hall, all it needs to say is City Hall, to unify those 2 by putting a carved wooden sign in the center planter bed that says City Hall.
Oh,
It's kind of
cool.
obvious to those of us who live here, but if you're passing through town, that could look like any public works building, and you wouldn't necessarily say it's City Hall.
That's
yeah,
true.
definitely.
That's true. I've told people, I don't know how many times, about the Sandy Museum, and they say, "Oh, where is that?" And I say, "It's right across the street from City Hall." "Oh, where's that?"
Yeah.
Okay,
Becky.
I hear it, and I'll put it on my Jordan ticker list when I talk to him here at the end of this week.
Okay, thank you.
Becky's
I
got her
can save
hand
you
up.
some time.
Becky?
I can
Becky?
save you some time.
I was wondering
Because
if you
I
were going to
already-
jump in, Becky, or if I should. So go ahead.
I have already talked to Kelly about that, and he assured me that those are temporary signs because they are contemplating what they're going to do with the front of the City Hall. Maybe not immediately, but I don't know how many times I've said something about City Hall and people don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when they put that up, I'm going,
Yeah.
really? You can't come up with a better looking sign like that? And so I just asked Kelly about it, and he said it was a temporary situation, and I'm sure that they will do a better looking sign when they
have that one
finalize
in
the
storage,
front.
yeah. In storage someplace, we have a beautiful sign that was carved that we got I think a $3,500 grant for, that says, you know, City of Sandy. Used to be on the land between where the Burger King is and where the Mount Hood Forest Service building was. Unfortunately, it has gateway to Mount Hood, and since we're now elevation meets innovation or what other something, anyway, it doesn't have our current thing, and it's also probably too large to install in that center planter, but just a simple wooden carved City Hall sign And then whatever they end up doing for permanent signs on the building, I wouldn't want something to cover up the center mural. That's why I was thinking the planter bed would be the more appropriate spot. But yeah, I'm glad to see that they're going to be addressing that.
Mhm.
Because those metal signs have a very industrial look to them. They're
Yeah.
not really pleasant.
No.
I'll conclude it into my conversation with him anyway, just to make
Thank
sure.
you.
Great, great, thank you. So we're down to council liaison report.
Oh, okay. Well, I already discussed one of those things, which was about the status of the
Right.
money and how the funding of the Growing Together mural is. So I'll leave that one as is. Did want to talk about selection of art commissioners. One of the things that the public input was, and it influenced the city council, so they had asked me to relay to you and also to monitor and in the future look at how this might be progressed. So one of the concerns that was brought up, and the conversation with the council after that, was that there appears to be a lot of outside the city of Sandy people from sitting in the seats. Now, we've done it right. There's the ability to do that within, I believe it's the, is it the school district or is it the
Right.
library district? I believe it's
It's
library.
the
Both
school
are
district
referenced.
and the library district.
Okay. So we are good. There's nothing wrong with the selection we made. Dan, you are a art commissioner. There's no discussion about that. But one of the things that they asked us to do was to take a look at, see if we can't get more contribution from folks who are within the city. Since it is a city art commission, I agree that there are things outside the city that are influencing our city, but there was a desire by almost entirely the city council to say, let's look at, see if we can't, as the seats come back up for vacancies, and as we can, bring people within the city of Sandy to that art commission. I think that's something that everybody can say is, I think it'd be important to do. Again, the outside of the city looking in has a lot of contribution. People that are looking outside have just as much say sometimes and maybe more. But I do think that the city council's direction was to look for those opportunities as we can. So that would include things like advertising, figuring out ways to get the word out, talking to people who could perform as art commissioners that are all inside the city limits. So that's one of the things that we'll be looking at. We're not going to be going to people and saying, because you are not inside the city limits and your term is up, we're going to kick you out and we're going to go searching. That's not what we're after, but we are, as opportunities and openings come up, we're going to certainly work for trying to bring people into the fold from inside the city limits. And so that's a direction that I'm directed to monitor and support as we get to that next part this fall. So
And poking around the internet, I found a lot of that sentiment just from the public all around saying just that.
I got a couple of emails from people within the city too. I
Yeah.
won't say who they are at the moment, but so
Well, I mean, these were people from within the city saying there ought to be people on the commission from the city.
one of the misunderstandings that brought this up, I thought, because the two people that presented this at council, was that the art commission has the authority to allocate money, and there were concerns that people outside the city were allocating city funds. That's not true.
Yeah.
It is a city council decision to that, like for example, that $11,000, which is where I think it came from, was urban renewal dollars. You have to have the urban renewal board make that decision. Those are all people, excluding I think a couple of the non-council people are outside the city. I'm not sure where Phil Snyder lives, but they represent the fire district and the city
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce. There it is. Boy, sorry. Think about that. So those folks could be from outside the city, but they are part of the city's workings. So it really is city people making those decisions and not outside as something people were thinking of. So if somebody's listening in at this point, that's not happening. City people are making city money decisions.
We're making recommendations to the city council. We can't do art like this mural. We can't do that ourselves. It goes through the people who are elected by the city residents.
You do have a budget. You know, that $8,000 was allocated to you when the commission was put together, and you certainly can spend that as you see it. So I guess there is some reality to that there might be some, because some of you are outside the city making decisions about city money, but anything that has to do with money other than that is going to be involved by the city council. So that's a message that the council wants to deliver to you. So
that's the way that I took some of that feedback, was more so that this commission is awarded or allotted a budget and no other board or commission is. And so I think that's where, at least the way that I interpreted some of those comments, is, you know, the concern around why is this commission treated a little bit differently with their own budget, and then there's non-residents assisting in the management of that budget.
We are a commission, not a committee. There's that. And the city council has given authority to spend that money through bylaws and by vote. So I think there is, like I said, some truth to the fact that somebody outside is allocating or can allocate things inside. So, but not very, very large amounts. So just a message that needed to be communicated to you as we put that through the council minutes.
Becky?
That's pretty much it, except for questions.
Becky?
I can appreciate why people want to have more city residents on the commission. And when we talk about doing the selection process at the end of the year, then that's where the rubber meets the road. So for instance, I think that the council may want to talk about, you can talk to them about it, what the Forest Service used to do. A woman-owned business, if they bid exactly the same as a man-owned business, they got a 3% grace period. If their bid was 3% more, it was equal to the man's. Or if it was the same as the man's, they got a 3%. They looked like the bid was 3% lower. In other words, they weighted the bid process toward women-owned businesses. Certainly the council, when they're choosing their people, can look at the people, see how qualified they are, and if they're equally qualified to a non-city resident, that would be simple. But they could also do a point system of some kind where they weight more heavily on residents.
Yeah, we've not come up with a process yet. All I'm doing is delivering a message that the council wanted me to give to you, and know that there's some desire to put more people within the city limits. And again, contrary to that is don't, for example, Dan's term is going to be at the end of this year, I believe. We're not going to go to him and say, Dan, well, you're out because you're not inside the city. We're looking for vacant seats. We're looking for ways to make that happen, because we do want people to stick around. We do want people to figure out how to work the system a little bit and understand how to make things happen. And I appreciate people like Dan who are outside the city. Becky's the same way, who contribute a lot of work and volunteer within the city limits too. So just so you know. And then again, except for questions, that concludes my statements.
Thank you. We're down to staff liaison report. And then
super brief. My report is just the budget update, and Arts Commission has approximately $5,750 remaining after the $1,000 pledge that you made last meeting to the Growing Together mural. So I'm still in decent shape for the upcoming fiscal year. I guess it's the current fiscal year now, since we're actually in July.
Yeah.
So that's it for me.
Okay. That was a budget update. Okay, any public comments? Anybody else online or?
No one else is online.
Okay.
And it sounds like Dan maybe has something to say.
Yeah, Carl, would you consult with Marcia on the proper pronunciation of liaison? Because she's doing it right.
What does he say?
Liaison. It's very common.
Just so long as you don't ask me to spell it.
You get a wordsmith on here, and you know.
Yeah.
I'm using the Czechoslovakian version. That's where my background is. So you can take your version and then stick it wherever you want.
Yeah.
The sun is shining, yes.
Okay. We consented the agenda already, and we're just down to adjourning at this point.
Oh,
Any
that's
other-
right.
Any other comments? Hi, Sandy.
No?
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, we're glad
Welcome,
you're on,
Dan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're adjourned then.
Okay.
Good night.
Dang.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice
Bye.
night. Enjoy the
Everybody
sunny
have a nice-
weather.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.